Special attention to that t-shirt he's got underneath his jersey. For Grand Valley State player.
Long live BK! Free my boy! Free my boy BK! You know,
special attention to that T-shirt he's got underneath his jersey. Or Grand Valley State player.
Long live BK! Free my boy! Free my boy, BK! You know...
Happy Sunday night, everybody. Happy Sunday night. How's it going, everyone? Just starting a little after 6 p.m. Central Time. How's everybody doing? LSU celebrate a 13-10 victory over Western Kentucky, where LSU could not score points in the half, in the entire first half, until the last minute and a half. I mean, is this the worst? Is this the worst LSU offense you've ever seen in your life? Is this the worst LSU offense that you've ever seen? I mean, the Cam Cameron era, Jake Peets. There's some eras of LSU that are very questionable. This reeks like something I've never seen before. Maybe I'm missing something from the Curly Hallman era. Maybe I'm missing something from somewhere else, some other time. Guys, we haven't been able to score over 25 points against any team in the country except for Southeastern. So any team that's actually in our division, in our weight class, and most of these teams that we're playing, usually we're beating these teams, right? Usually we have a lot of these teams' numbers outside of Alabama or out, and statistically overall maybe we're like more neck and neck with Alabama more than people would expect. But really these are winnable games, and games where you should be scoring over 30 points in at least every other game at the most, like diabolically poor. You're at least getting over 30 points every other game. This is an offense that couldn't do it once all season, except for the Southeastern game. And because of that, you had a defense that won you games. Blake Baker's defense, man. It's absolutely crazy when you remember that after the A&M game, after Ole Miss, after Alabama, I heard and saw a lot of people going hard at Blake Baker, saying, and fire Blake Baker's ass too. Get his ass out of here too. I don't want to see him too. Blah, 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 blah. This defense sucks. We can't stop the running quarterback. And it was like, Name me any defense that can stop like an elite running quarterback. Name me any. What was the team that finally beat Alabama in a national championship game, mano a mano, finally took them down? Deshaun Watson, dual threat brilliance with Clemson. Lose a heartbreaker the year before against Alabama, come back and they have that crazy Hunter Renfrow play right at the end there that wins them the game. Deshaun Watson is finally what took Alabama down with Saban. And then you take out your fastest linebacker, Whit Weeks, a guy who can make up for any error, any misread by Harold Perkins. That's a huge miss. And you saw what a big miss it was for Whit Weeks not to be there for some of the biggest games of the season. 4 in a row, obviously. Vanderbilt, A&M, Alabama, Arkansas. Huge, huge games for him to be missing. And let me just put this out there. The injury that you guys all think he has is not the injury that Whit Weeks actually has. And I'm telling you that from the closest source as possible. The injury is so bad that this was a ceremonial thing. You know, I'm still trying to figure out 100% if he's going to be coming back for the Oklahoma game or for the bowl game. I don't anticipate that. This was more like, hey, if the season's on the line, if there was something to play for, this is something worth going out there and playing for. But right now, how hurt he is and the nature of this injury and the recovery, dude needs to heal. And I think you should have just shut him down for the season, have him do this ceremonial brothers thing, which we will get into. Very, very cool history made there on this last night. But Whit Weeks, hopefully you can get him back for next season. Huge piece of your defense. You saw what happened when you didn't have him. One of the best linebackers in the country. And when you talk about Blake Baker, man, what his defense has been able to do for this team this season. Not only keeping us in every game, games we had no right to be in. We had no right to be in that Ole Miss game. And we only lost the game by, what, a touchdown? They only scored 25 points on us, 24. Like, it's insane. Like, this defense, the only game I really put on them is that second half against A&M. That second half collapse. But at the same time, you cannot be the only unit actually carrying their weight for half or more than half of a football season and not expect a collapse to happen at some point. I mean, it even at least a dip in form. It happened to the 2023 Juggernaut offense. You know, they couldn't be perfect every single damn time they go down there, scoring a touchdown every single damn time. You know what I'm saying? They're playing against their own defense as much as they're playing against the opponents. And so you had the same situation, but flipped to now our defense is an absolute juggernaut this season, winning us games, literally. And the offense was one of the worst offenses we've ever seen in recent LSU memory. I mean, guys, holy crap. I understand LSU rushed for 126 yards yesterday. I understand Harlem Berry, 80 something yards. I I I understand that like this was better than what we've seen. Michael Van Buren, very limited statistical success last night, but like this was one of the worst offensive showings we've ever seen, right? I mean, like you thought this was getting better with the Arkansas performance, but the way this offense played against Alabama, the way we played in the second half against A&M, the way we played last night against Western Kentucky. I mean, did we actually see that? Did we actually see that? I don't know about you. Here's the thing. There's a lot of times I shame LSU fans for turning off games or leaving early or not watching or whatever. And I cannot say a word when it comes to the game that just happened. Like, no one is to blame if they turn that off. No one is to blame if they saw what was being laid down and were like, I don't want any freaking part of that. Like, I I cannot blame you guys. I cannot say a word because that was one of the worst LSU offensive performances we have ever had to stomach through. I mean, oh my God, that was worse than Jaws 3. That was worse than Halloween, Season of the Witch, number 3. Once again, another third film of this franchise. That was worse than The Godfather 3, another third film of a franchise. I mean, it was so bad. It was so bad watching that offense. You wondered, are we going to get shut out by this Western Kentucky team? And then you kick 3 field goals to assist you with your 1 touchdown pass to Trades Green, his 5th touchdown of the season, the only touchdown of the game, right? Damian Ramos kicks 3 field goals for you, but it's not enough to keep the stank off this thing. You fumble the football, trying to end the game, trying to ice the game. You fumble the ball. Western Kentucky returns this thing for a touchdown. And it now is 13-10. You face an onside kick against Western Kentucky, guys. I mean, did you see the way that DJ Chester was snapping the football? Michael Van Buren having to bounce the ball off the ground like a basketball. Literally had to dribble the football to control it on one of those snaps. I mean, DJ Chester just flinging that thing back there, guys. What the hell is he doing in that spot? He couldn't have been our most prepared center, right? Because he's not even a true center. But if he was LSU's most prepared center in that situation last night, then what the hell is going on with the offensive line? And I do not want to see another season where Brad Davis leads that offensive line out there. This has been crap. I don't care about the recruiting that he can claim, the recruiting wins. I don't care about any of that. Offensive linemen are going to stop coming to LSU when they see what this is. We're only going to get big, lazy guys who know they can come here with a big name, play for LSU, play against all these big schools, underperform, get paid a lot of money, and it's all good. That will become what LSU is as an offensive line school if you keep Brad Davis. And the whole, my guy from the Go Team podcast, Daniel, former offensive line coach who really knows his shit, he was telling me, and it was great insight because it's stuff that maybe I'd thought before, but didn't really put a handle on it so succinctly, that he's playing guys who should be playing at tackle. He's playing them at guard. He's playing guards at tackle. He's playing dudes who have no business playing center at center. Garrett Dellinger started at center for us against Florida State when we had Charles freaking Turner on the bench. Charles Turner then proceeded to start how many straight games for LSU at center for a juggernaut offense? But Brad Davis didn't even know about him. I mean, just so bad. You'd rather play Garrett Dellinger at center. You'd rather play DJ Chester yesterday at center. There had to be a better option. And if there wasn't, it's even more of a condemnation, right? I mean, it's just the offensive line play at LSU just gets worse by the game. And I thought that wouldn't be the case because, you saw it going downhill, right? Game after game, it was just keep getting worse and worse and worse. And then our Arkansas game, you saw some glimmers of hope here and there. And you saw, the way we were able to control the ball here and there. And you're okay. Glimmers of hope, baby. Let's keep going. And then this happens. Michael Van Buren regresses. Michael Van Buren doesn't see the field as well as he did the last few games. Michael Van Buren has a big opportunity in front of him, and he doesn't seize that moment. He wastes a red shirt, mind you. He wastes a red shirt, season here for this game, for this next week against Oklahoma. And I think that's, selfless and awesome of him to play and not care about that. But at the same time, it's reckless for himself and his own future, because he just saw, okay, this is the offensive line I'm going to be behind. This is the coaching staff that's going to be running this show. Like, these are not going to be the guys who are going to be leading your future, even if you stay at LSU, my man. Like, even if Michael Van Buren, is the future of LSU at quarterback, which there wasn't debate before last night, there surely is now. Many were thinking maybe Michael Van Buren, maybe. And now a lot of people are saying the quarterback isn't even on the roster. Colin Hurley likely to transfer, all these, things going on where people are not. You've lost a lot at quarterback. Garrett Nussmeier's going to the NFL. I mean, Michael Van Buren may have just said, let me go out and put some tape up for whoever is going to come get me in the portal. And he did exactly, okay, if you want to clear up a roster spot for LSU to go after a quarterback, all that stuff, okay, we'll move you on, all right, MVB. But then, no, he actually does pretty bad. And so is someone going to come get him? Or is he going to still just languish on LSU's roster as maybe, maybe he'll be good, but oh, no. He's a dual threat guy, maybe. Oh, no. Michael Van Buren was not impressive last night at all. And it just goes to show you that there's something deeper going on, because it's not just Joe Sloan either. Alex Atkins here. Alex Atkins could have scrapped the entire thing. I guarantee you what he has done, offensive play calling, all that stuff, is okay, guys, we're going to keep this familiar. We're going to keep it in the system that Sloan is running, but we're going to tweak this and move this, and we're going to do these things. I get that, because you have to just finish the season, and you're not going to try and teach all these guys a whole new system. Whatever, I understand. At the same time, this guy could have called whatever the hell he wanted to call, and instead he chose to call this type of stuff, this Joe Sloan scheme, this kind of bastardized diet Mike Denbrock setup that is totally rooted in this Brian Kelly handbrake on offensive setup. It's ghastly. It's hard to watch. And for Brian Kelly saying, I know a lot about offensive line play, it sure doesn't look like it. Because LSU does not have the development in that position. Even their best guys don't have the technique. Even their best guys are not draft eligible right now or draft worthy right now. And LSU does not have the depth at that position. You've got some interesting young guys, Solomon Thomas, injured, out for the season. There's so many of these pieces to this team that started this season injury. Only a few games in the season, injury. I mean, what the hell's going on with this program? Because there's a lot of injuries, there's a lot of disappointment, there's a lot of soft ass performances. Can we hire someone like Lane Kiffin? He's going to come in here and fix it with a whole lot of money under his belt, a whole big contract. Or is it something that's deeper that some outside guy isn't going to be able to fix? Whereas someone like Frank Wilson, who everyone's going to freak out and laugh at and say this is naive to say he would be a head coach, but maybe he's the bridge that LSU needs to buy into for a year to get to that point. maybe throwing 150 million at a head coach plus 60 other million dollars, if not more, in flipping the staff, and you further kind of just push away and hide from the actual values that make LSU what it was as a great program. And it can still be that great program if it embraces those values, but dumping money into everything that is possible, everything around you, and it becomes a business more than a football team, well, then you have an issue. Then you have a problem. And that's where LSU has gone. And that's what LaRon Landry told us in an interview that definitely is worth your time to watch. The first time that this LSU legend has spoken about his career and some of the most difficult and triumphant and epic moments of his career. It's here on LSUODYSSEY.com. But what he said during that interview was this era, everything in college football is about everything else but the actual football. About everything is about everything except for the actual game. And it was so stunning to hear someone like that, one of the most like hard-nosed, he stayed 4 years at LSU when he didn't have to, was a 6th overall pick, like All-American, All-SEC, even an All-Academic, started the national championship game as a freshman. If there's anyone who's going to know about those type of things, it's going to be LaRon Landry, someone who was probably tempted with that big bag from multiple different areas during his recruitment, right? And someone who stayed for LSU for the love of LSU. And now we can see what it's kind of eroded into. Is going after Kiffin something that's going to get LSU back to where it needs to be? Is it going to be that dark night of the soul that gets LSU to be like, okay, that's our identity. That's what we are about. Let's go for that. Let's return to that. Let's go back to this. Is that going to be the catalyst? Is Lane Kiffin someone who can really come in here and be that person to change that culture? I would say he can be, but not if he gets rid of, say, Frank Wilson. Not if he gets rid of, say, Austin Thomas. Not if he, makes major changes to the staff outside of getting rid of, in my opinion, you cannot go into next season with Brad Davis coaching your offensive line, and you cannot go into next season with Cortez Hankton coaching your receivers. Again, those two must go. Have to. Must. And Blake Baker, you're probably going to be having to replace your defensive coordinator. I spoke to someone very close to Blake Baker, okay? And I don't know if this is 100% the case of how he exactly feels until I actually speak to the person, You never know exactly how they feel. But here's the thing. This is someone who would not lie about what Blake Baker thinks or feels or says. This is someone who is like as loyal to Blake Baker as they come. He said that Blake Baker was very hurt. He said he didn't know whether Blake Baker was going to leave or if he's going to stay, or if Kiffin was something that he liked, or Kiffin coming or whatever. But he did say that Blake Baker was very hurt by how LSU fans blamed all of the kind of collapses over the last 2 years on just him. He got a ton of the blame for some of these offensive ineptitude power trips from Joe Sloan and Brian Kelly last season. Blamed for a lot of that stuff. Yes, what are you doing not putting a spy on, the quarterback? Have Harold Perkins be that spy. It's not that hard. At the same time, a defense that only allows 11 points, 9 to 11 points a game, like on average, that's unbelievable. Like this is obviously the offense that has caused where LSU is at. The offense is why LSU is at the place it's at. And Blake Baker feels that he got way too much of the stick from the fans. And so he feels almost like, yeah, I am going to kind of look into these opportunities. Yeah, I am going to entertain these things because I don't feel like there's that loyalty. We had an unbelievable defensive season, and these fans who just saw some of the worst defenses in LSU's history over the last 5 years, they don't even realize what we just did this season. And I understand that because I feel, yes, there's some big time mistakes from this defense against second half against A&M, certain parts against Alabama that lost us the game, like in the red zone, some of these moments against Ole Miss. But the most part, this defense has literally kept you in games or won you games. Like, if this offense was even just below average, we'd be very good. Very good. We'd be in a very good spot. Maybe only just have 2 losses, this LSU team. I'm not joking about this. This LSU team could only have 2 losses if they had been, conservative, ball controlling, fueling the defense, giving them as much rest as possible, not really being a fast, showy offense that turns the ball over every second, gives the ball back every second like we were early in the season, but an offense like you've seen the last 2 weeks where even though you play like absolute garbage against Western Kentucky, you still, by virtue of controlling the ball almost 11 more minutes, you win the game because your defense is constantly fresh. Your defense is constantly going out there making plays, constantly getting turnovers, interceptions, sacks, you name it. And it's very interesting because you watch what the defense did last night, and you can see why Blake Baker would be hurt by that. I don't think it's a betrayal or anything, something serious like that, but I get why he would be like, damn, I'm going to think twice about these type of things because we gave you a defense where, man, you give Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas this defense in 2023, easily they're winning a national championship. Easy. You give them just like a little bit of this defense, like they're winning a title. I mean, look at that number. Look at those numbers. 152 total yards allowed, and Western Kentucky had a ton of drives, a ton of opportunities because LSU just kept giving the ball back. But only 22 yards allowed on the ground. Just allowed a single field goal as far as scoring plays. Remember, Western Kentucky did score 10 points, but it was just off a scoop and score. So our offense allowed more points to Western Kentucky than our defense did. Giving up 0 touchdowns, holding the Hilltoppers to 4 of 15 on third down, and then 0 of 3 on fourth down attempts. LSU offensively were about the same as far as third down. LSU were terrible on third down yesterday as well. Let me get those numbers real quick. They were absolutely bad, absolutely pathetic on offense yesterday. Let's see here. Then, of course, you've got DJ Pickett getting the interception from the West Weeks bat. West Weeks should have got this interception. He's going to be upset that he didn't. But he bats it in the air in the perfect way where you knew whoever was going to come on to that thing was going to pick that thing off. You just knew it. I mean, and it was DJ Pickett. And then PJ Woodland drops an interception earlier and then makes up for it by reeling in what was a outrageous interception, guys. Outrageous interception. Let's take a look here. Offense. Why are some of these things so... I hate how some of these things are set up. Some of these stat sites. It's like, oh my god. Let me take a look here.
Marvis Parrish. That's got to be a pretty cool
See,
moment
this was
for the
sick
entire
right
Weeks
here.
family. I mean,
This was sick right here. You had
your
all
wildest
three
dreams growing up as
Weeks
kids.
brothers
You could never imagine getting on the field in
lining
Tiger
up
Stadium,
together.
all three of you at the same time. It's pretty remarkable.
All three.
Witt and West played together a lot at Oconee County High School. One was a quarterback, one was a running back.
That was freaking sick. That was an epic moment. LSU were 3 of 16 on third down, 1 of 3 on fourth down, guys. LSU were 4 of 19 on critical down tries offensively yesterday. Just horrendous offensive night from LSU. Just horrendous, guys. But what I loved about this defense, what we saw from this defense, was there's a lot of stars for the future who were showing out. DJ Pickett not only had the pick, but then he also had a sack where he goes around the edge, gets this sack that is just freaking outrageous. I have the video of it. I don't want to deal with another copyright strike. DJ Pickett gets the sack, I think his second sack of the season. He's made countless plays blitzing off the edge with his length. Being utilized. He's batted passes in the backfield. He's gotten quarterback hits. Let's take a look here. I want his exact stats. But yeah, Pickett, man, he has been a talisman for LSU this season. As a freshman, he has really showed out. He has really said, "Look, I'm going to be a star. I'm going to be starting for LSU for years to come. Watch me do what I do." He had the pick six that was called back as well. Let's not forget that. He had the pick six that was wrongfully called back. What game was that? Well, that was against A&M, wasn't it? That was against A&M. So you had Pickett with that pick. You have PJ Woodland getting a pick as well. So now LSU has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys all with 2 interceptions. So Halsey has 2 picks. Cooley has 2 picks. Perkins has 2 picks. Mansour DeLon has 2 picks. PJ Woodland has 2 picks. DJ Pickett has 2 picks. And now, of course, Deshaun Spears had 2 picks in the same game, including a pick 6. That is insane. And LSU, remember, had 6 interceptions last season as an entire defense. 6. So keep that into perspective. DJ Pickett has 2 sacks on the season. 2 sacks, 2 TFLs, 2 picks, and then 2 pass breakups. I swear he has more than just 2, though. 2 pass breakups for Pickett seems extremely low. I don't know about you guys. That seems extremely low to me. We've got a ton of comments. I love to see the comments, guys. Love to see the comments. We'll be getting to those in just one second. LSU Odyssey live here. You know, we saw such a hideous defensive performance, but you know, seeing that defense play just unbelievable just back to the Stone Age, break your face type of defense. It was actually kind of beautiful to watch. Like, as someone who loves defensive football, like, I loved watching that. What I hated was seeing that we have an offense that just completely shits every opportunity that this defense creates for them. And there's nothing worse or more wasteful or more hideous than that. And so I really want to keep Blake Baker next season. I got to say it. I really want to see. I know Pete Golding's probably going to be the one who's going to be coming with Lane Kiffin if that's going to be the deal that goes down. Whatever. But there's something about this Blake Baker defense, the creativity, the young guys that he's been utilizing. The rise of a guy like DJ Pickett, the rise of a guy like, Ahmad Bro, Dominic McKinley, Davon Keys, Deshaun Spears, especially a dude who should have been playing a lot more, PJ Woodland. It's really inspiring the way he uses these guys, blitzing Mansour to lane off the edge, blitzing, all these guys from all over the place. It's been incredible. Some of the names of guys who have a sack at LSU this season. DJ Pickett, of course, has 2. As a freshman, DJ Pickett has 2 sacks. He's a corner. That's as many as Jack Pyburn has. That's as many as Bernard Gooden has. That's as many sacks as Jamari Butler. That's crazy. PJ Woodland also has a sack. Deshaun Spears also has a sack this season. CJ Jackson, Jordan Gilbert has a half of a sack, shared with Jack Pyburn earlier this season. That's quite a lot of defensive backs getting sacks, guys. That's brilliant. That is freaking insane. You got 4 different backfield guys with a share of a sack, and then a ton of TFLs for these secondary guys as well. And the creativity that Blake Baker has cannot go unnoticed. The love the players have for him cannot be disputed. And you lose Blake Baker, you're going to be losing some big pieces to this team. Guys you really desperately want to come back next year. Guys that maybe aren't finished completely with their time at LSU and would leave with a very incomplete LSU history if they were to depart 1 year too early. And so, it was something I also want to talk about. It was very sad watching Garrett Nussmeier, the senior night moment. He has to walk out there. He looks really sullen and sad. I shouldn't say sullen because that's kind of negative, but like he was more. He can't hide from the fact that things did not go the way he wanted them to go. This was the night he expected to come out there like Burrow in 2019 with the Burrow, EAUX at the end of his name. This was supposed to be that night where Nuss kind of was coronated as like, yeah, man, you've risen to that moment of being one of those LSU great quarterbacks where you're an untouchable, just like Burrow, Jaden Daniels. There's these guys where they're untouchable, and Nuss had the statistical power. He had all the tools in the belt to get there. But things did not happen. Things did not go his way at all, because not just everything around him was built to fail, and the adults who were leading him and keeping him at LSU, Brian Kelly, Joe Sloan, were kind of leading everything off of a cliff, from play calling to the depth of the offensive line to the whole setup. Everything was wrong. Everything was bad. But also, Nussmeier didn't help himself as well. Everything was wrong about the Nussmeier era these last 2 years. Him starting where things should have been so much better when you're talking about such a talent, and you're talking about the structure around a quarterback to have a quarterback succeed or fail, and building your team around a quarterback so that they will succeed. And how does that look? Well, when you've got a guy like Jaden Daniels, you know what his skills are. You know what you can do to make that happen, right? You know what someone like Jaden Daniels needs to be great. Garrett Nussmeier is kind of in this gray area where you know what he needs to be successful, but you kind of don't as well. And it's give him a great offensive line, he's going to be fine. As long as they can pass block, he'll be great. Well, yeah, you gave him probably the greatest pass blocking offensive line in LSU history, from the 2024 offensive line. I know their performances took a dip all around, but they were still great pass blockers last season, and that did not help him still. And then it was, well, yeah, but he didn't have a running game, so he wasn't going to be successful because he didn't have a running game. But in the few games where LSU were starting to run the football, Garrett Nussmeier's prowess throwing the football constantly begged for Joe Sloan to call passing plays ad nauseum. Even when Garrett Nussmeier could barely throw a ball over 5 yards because of his abdominal tear and all this stuff, knee, even a screwed up wrist, all this stuff, you were still calling 40, 50-yard bombs to Chris Hilton. I mean, Joe Sloan would rather play Russian roulette with the guys from the Deer Hunter in the Viet Cong little hut than call a running play back to back. But there was just some really sad emotions that stirred up in me watching Garrett Nussmeier not be able to suit up on his senior year night. I mean, if you booed him, or if you thought that was funny, or if you the last laugh, Nuss, ha ha ha. I mean, I think that'd be kind of gross, because it's like, this kid did stay for LSU. He did everything to stay for LSU. He never played games with LSU about, I'm going to go here, I could go there. Yes, he was paid a lot of money by LSU to be their starting quarterback. Yes, he was making a lot of money this season when things did not go LSU's way. And yes, because things did not go LSU's way, it becomes this, well, he's, open season on Nussmeier. And I think, he's gotten the message. He knows where he failed. He knows how he failed. And he knows why he failed. And it isn't just on everyone else and blame everyone else but Nuss, but it isn't just all on him either. It's kind of obvious that this was a situation, as I just went through, that was set up to fail. You ordained him as the quarterback for 2 years. You ordained him. There was no quarterback battle. You ordained him. Even Jaden Daniels had a battle. I mean, even Jaden Daniels had to retire Miles Brennan and then, put Garrett Nussmeier in his place behind him. Garrett Nussmeier was ordained. And maybe that was part of it too. But it was very sad and kind of shook me up watching, his dad's there, and his dad hasn't been there for a lot of his games, hasn't been there for a lot of his seasons, most of his games. His dad has missed because of the nature of his dad's job. National championship winning and NFL, offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. Right? But you had your dad there this season. And that's what really just hits me, is that, like, there's so much pressure on him this season for this to really work and for this to really count and for this to really be the season of his life, the season that mattered, the season that you got to the title, And I feel bad for him that couldn't happen. Because, Nussmeier is deserving of being one of those greats in LSU, from the loyalty aspect to, the fact that he is in the top 4 of LSU quarterbacks in passing yards, and he's missed all these games and didn't even play until, he got a full starting season, then played his entire second starting season injured. So, I mean, like, the kid has been through a lot. Things did not go how you wanted them to, how I wanted them to, but especially more than anybody, how Nussmeier wanted them to. Don't forget that. It's not like this kid is, oh, well, I'm fine, I'm a millionaire. The kid wanted to absolutely show out in front of his dad, in front of his family, and I feel really bad that couldn't happen. I feel really bad that this all kind of culminated into one moment and it kind of went down like a lead balloon. I think that's really cruel. And you know what? There was always this thought in the back of my head. I hate to say it. There was always a thought in the back of my head that this is just building up to something that is just impossible. Joe Burrow, no one thought of him as going to be the Heisman winner, or could be the Heisman winner, until we beat Alabama. And then everyone who outside of LSU kind of understood. Garrett Nussmeier was being called a potential Heisman winner, and, oh yeah, he'll win the Heisman. People were saying that before LSU had kicked the ball off. Played Clemson. And the kid was hurt the whole time. He was hurt the whole time with 2 of the worst injuries a quarterback can have. Your abdominal being torn and your knee being screwed up. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier, I hope he kicks ass at the NFL level. I hope he dominates, because, man, he loves LSU. He gave everything for LSU. And it sucks that it did not work out the way it should. And, man, I just have to salute you, Garrett, for hanging in there, for being a Tiger through and through, no matter how much money you were offered from other schools. And believe me, I was privy to some of those conversations and some of those offers. He was offered a lot more than he's paid by LSU. And instead he stayed at LSU, and this is kind of the way it ends. And I feel really sick to my stomach. That's how it happened for Nussmeier. And the way that senior night was, the crowd's half empty, polite applause. There's not that rock star moment with Joe Burrow. But that's the thing, though. We built this whole thing up to be this national championship Burrow Part 2 type of thing. And a lot of media people bought into it, including myself. I love Nuss. I thought Nuss has got all the tools and the attributes to be that great Heisman winning quarterback and all that stuff. I thought it was more than possible. I think any realistic, honest LSU fan would tell you the same. I think it's only the people who just really hate Garrett Nussmeier just as much as the people who really hated Jaden Daniels, we're just going to deny any type of reality about any of these things. But for me, Garrett Nussmeier will and always will be a great Tiger, someone who had a lot of heart, someone who was a leader, someone who is good to people, really good to people. And I just hope we can see others like Nussmeier in the future. Where is he going to be the last? Is he going to be the last loyal quarterback? Because I guarantee you, if he had another season of eligibility left, he would be coming back again for another go around with LSU. Telling you. I'm telling you, like, he'd be like, nope, this isn't finished. I'm coming back, and in a way, it's almost like, okay, this experiment has to end. LSU need a dual threat quarterback for the next few years. LSU need to run a dual threat offense. LSU need to up the ante offensively. But here's the thing, everything is up in the air until you figure out who your next head coach is. Okay, we have a bunch of comments. I'm going to get through your comments, guys, right now. Bruce Boston. Bruce, by the way, you need to say sorry to my man Logan Graffia because you posted something on Logan's thing that was rather nasty. He showed me that a few months ago. I completely forgot about that. But I'm remembering now. And you need to apologize to Logan Graffia because that was screwed up. And Logan is a friend of mine, and I don't like that at all. That was bullshit. And what really pissed me off too, Bruce, is that you did it in my name in a way. You kind of said like you suck or something to Logan, but then like you dragged him down like in my name in a way, like trying to push me up. I don't like that at all, man. That's bullshit. Logan's someone, me and him have encouraged each other and kind of like tried to help each other do this thing. I mean, Logan's been a guest on our show like 10 different times. We've been a guest on his shows when he's been doing them. So like if you don't like him, that's fine, but don't be posting nasty shit like that, man. Please. Please, please, please. Logan's a good dude. Bud Elliott says, Lon, your piece on Kiffin last week came correct. Thank you. Subscription well worth it. Man, that's a very cool comment. Thank you, Bud. I think you're referring to the article we wrote on Thursday night where there was a lot of buzz and people are hearing that where's he going? Where's he going? Florida people are saying he's coming to Florida. The LSU people saying he's coming to LSU. Ole Miss people were saying he's staying. I mean, it was at that moment where it was like, who the hell knows where this is going? And all throughout that night, I just kept getting one like little piece of information after another. It was like, oh my God, this is kind of aligning in a great way for LSU. This is all lining up. And I made sure to say, hey, this is still Lane Kiffin. We have to wait until this is signed on paper before we start celebrating. But all of these things are aligning. And people are going out of their way to make sure it aligns. So thank you, man. We try to make sure we pack as much info that you're not going to get anywhere else into one article. We try and make it worth it for you guys. My man, Paul Tarver. What's up, Paul? He says, while the Kiffin trend may lean LSU, better have plan B and C ready if he remains at Ole Miss on Saturday. I I just don't see how he can stay. Do you? Do you think he can really stay there after this? I mean, it would basically be like, I own you. I am the king here. You are my indentured servants. If I leave, if I want to leave, you're gonna plead with me and cry and moan and crawl on the ground, and then I'll go, okay, maybe I'll stay. And then you're, oh yeah, oh my God. Like, it's not good for Ole Miss. It's not good for Lane Kiffin if Lane Kiffin remains. That's kind of how I see it. I think it would be very weird if he were to come back. I got some live Kiss Alive in the background. I don't know if you can hear those epic guitars of Ace Frehley, and rest in peace. I'm watching you. Herm says, what's up, Lon? Nothing much, Herm. Just doing the show, my man. How you doing, brother? How you doing, my guy? Jennifer LSU Blood says, this is the worst I've ever seen. She was talking about the offense, the LSU offenses. Yeah, I think it is the worst LSU offense we've ever seen. Two faces onto one. That's kind of funny. Devo 1K says, I don't know about worst, LOL, but it's up there. I remember Anthony Jennings, Brandon Harris era, but this offense is up there. Okay. The Lambeau Field game, some of those, oh my God. Some of that stuff was so bad, guys. Oh, that's true. Good point. But still, I mean, we just barely scored against Western Kentucky, Devo. We just barely scored against them. Paul Tarver says, absolute worst I've seen following the Tigers since Cannon's Heisman year in 59. Really? So, Paul, this is the worst ever LSU offense you've seen since 1959. Because that's saying a lot. Gostin Hannibal says, love it, man. Love the show. Pull no punches. Thank you, my brother. Gerard says, keeping Brad Davis is not an option. Nope. That's something we were just saying. Maybe you're inspired to say that by what we said, but yeah, man, you cannot keep Brad Davis. Offensive line was absolutely abysmal this season and last year too. And you had a number one overall pick. Sorry, not number one overall, a top 4 pick on that offensive line. Gerard says, if you want a Dillingham, okay, I'm with you, but you losing it with that Frank Wilson. No, please stop. No way with Dillingham. No, not Dillingham. The reason I'm bringing up Frank Wilson is because it's not that I think Frank Wilson would be a successful head coach. I'm just like, damn, I want someone who loves LSU. I want someone who's not an outsider who's going to maybe bend LSU into what they think LSU should be, you know? And the amount of money and all this stuff, it's all a little bit crazy, you know? It's all a little bit weird. It's all a little bit in the ether. It's all a little it's hard for me even to find a word because it's so weird what the era of college football we're going in. The money is reaching such elevated levels that it's hard to even fathom. It's hard to even like be able to relate to some of this stuff. And so it's almost like we don't want to lose touch of what we are and what LSU was with becoming another just faceless Texas A&M, mercenary school. We don't want that. And Frank Wilson keeps us rooted in that type of thing. And maybe it's not Frank, but I want someone who is like Frank in that way. And I definitely think you got to keep Frank on staff. You definitely got to keep Frank on staff. But keeping Frank on as head coach for a season, I don't think it would be the worst decision ever in the world. But if you have a chance to sign Lane Kiffin as a head coach here, LSU have to do it because you can't let him go to Florida. I think everyone kind of is of the mind that if you give Lane the keys to the kingdom at a premier program, he will deliver championships. The Go Team says Baker should have been named interim. I know Frank has had coaching experience, but Baker could have potentially provided more of a spark. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, good point. And maybe also passing over Baker's interim. I don't think that's like, oh, that's the reason he's going to leave or something, but it's kind of like another, like, ooh, like, passed over for that. I know people are going to go back on Frank big time now because of the loss that we had against Alabama 20-9, and then you have a 1-point win over Arkansas, and then you have a 13-10 win over Western Kentucky, one of the worst offensive displays. And maybe any coach would look like a deer in headlights looking at this offense because holy shit, it's bad. And maybe Frank isn't ready to be the head coach at LSU. Probably not. Would you have Frank Wilson or Lane Kiffin as your head coach? I think you know the answer to that question. I just don't want to see LSU lose grip on what it is that they are as a brand, as a school, as a program. Because if you to get this hire wrong again, it might take a long time to figure this shit out, Oh, we love you too, Jennifer. We love you too. Thank you for watching, Jennifer. We love seeing your name in the comments. Paul Tarver says, surprised to see Ole Miss defense ranked 10th overall with 16.2 points per game and 25. Hey, Paul, they were also, I swear, a top 10 defense last year as well. They were a great defense last year. They were kicking our ass most of the game. They had an outrageous number of pressures on Nussmeier in that game against Ole Miss, like something like 40 pressures or some crazy number. Like it was ridiculous. Those defenses the last few years for Pete Golding have been vicious. Some of his best defenses ever. I mean, even better than his Alabama era defenses under Saban. Cole Adams says, I hope Nuss writes a tell-all book about this season and Brian Kelly. Man, that would sell a lot of copies, wouldn't it? And people would debate if the accuracy or whatever, but I think we all know what Brian Kelly's about. The shoveling of snow for Robert Sala and Coach Flynn, just these really weird, terrible, just treating people like absolute utter shit. Like that's Brian Kelly's MO. The tell-all book, I mean, Nuss will never do that, but let's be real here. Nuss was screwed over by the adults in this situation. Just as much blame as you want to put on him, you've got to put even more on these adults. I mean, the kid should not have been on the field putting himself in that risk, in that situation. Because you basically had him waste his last year of eligibility, which he could have gotten back for a medical red shirt. You had him waste that playing hurt. Not even throwing 300 yards in a game. Never throwing more than 2 touchdowns in a game. Throwing horrific red zone pick sixes. I mean, not pick sixes, but throwing horrific red zone picks. You did everything wrong for that kid that you possibly could. Cole Adams says, I've been watching football for 65 years plus, and last night was the first time I've seen false start called on the center. Shaking my effing head. Dude, that DJ Chester stuff last night was wild. I mean, you can see him there as 79 in that photo. He was literally just throwing that thing back to Van Buren. Just wham. And like, once again, what I said about Brad Davis earlier, if that was the best option, DJ Chester, then that is more of an indictment of Brad Davis than anything else. And guess what? That is your best option. That is your best option, I guess, was DJ Chester. Unbelievable. Unbelievable how bad your offensive line play has been. And that's another thing with Saban. I mean, not Saban. How did I mix up these two names? That's another thing about hiring Kiffin is you bring him on and he's immediately going to at least improve the offensive line play. At least improve the offensive line play because he's simply not going to let the running game be terrible. He is obsessed with running the football. He leans on running the football. It's the basis of what he does as a coach offensively. Whether he's calling plays or not, he is going to have his system, his setup, his game flow all predicated on running the damn ball. And I'm telling you, man, no matter how good Brad Davis is at recruiting offensive linemen, this shit is not good enough. And he was able to hide for a few years behind Will Campbell and Emory Jones, Garrett Dellinger. Not anymore. Let's see. Ooh, yeah. Gerard says, and Flint, a new conditioning coach. This team is soft, needs a new conditioning coach. I think it's quite obvious Jake Flint will not be the conditioning coach for next season. He's a Kelly loyalist. He won't be around at LSU after the season. Gerard says, did you not watch the game last night? Frank is a deer in the headlights. Who cares what speeches he gives? I don't think you're grasping what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say that because he gives speeches and because he's Mr. Louisiana and all this stuff that we got to hire him as the head coach. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you got to keep him on staff because of all those reasons and because he can recruit his ass off, out-recruit anybody in the game. Yes, that's why you have to keep him on staff. I was more lamenting the idea that LSU are going to pour an outrageous amount of money into 2 coaches, one who couldn't prove diddly shit, and another who is going to arrive with a lot of controversy. Lane Kiffin will arrive with a lot of controversy, a lot of questions, a lot of pressure. Let's don't forget that. You thought there was a lot of pressure on Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly didn't really give a shit once he was paid all that money. Lane Kiffin goes to LSU for an ultimate cash out. I don't know. I think Kiffin's more of a football guy than Kelly. Kelly is a politician. Once he was paid, he was like, hell yeah. Like, done. Job was done on day one. I see Kiffin taking it personally if his team gets boat raced. I would think Kiffin would take it personally if his team were outclassed, outmatched, bullied up front, couldn't run the football, especially when, Kiffin has said this before. He knows what LSU is about traditionally and what makes LSU one of the best brands in college football. And for the longest time, that included running the football up teams' ass, right? Dominating you in the trenches, bullying you, and running it up your ass. Even if we couldn't, complete more than 10 passes, we were going to run it all over your ass. And LSU have not been able to do that for 5 years. Unless Jaden Daniels, a quarterback, was taking that ball, you could not do that. Could not. Could not run the football. Could not physically impose yourself. Could not dominate up front. And so Lane Kiffin for me, and I said this on our appearance on Tiger Rag Radio, because that would be the most attractive thing about Kiffin's hiring to me is like what he does in the trenches as far as getting that offensive line where it needs to be. And then you've seen what he's understood over the last few years defensively. He has understood that his defenses have to beefing up in the trenches up front. They've got to get better in the trenches. They weren't traditionally good in the trenches. They weren't traditionally good at the back end. They were traditionally soft up front, kind of crazy, reckless over the middle, and then had a bunch of guys who were really kind of like almost like played DB like a bunch of receivers, like a bunch of backup receivers. That's what you had in Kiffin defenses usually. And Kiffin doesn't call defenses. He's not like his dad. He calls the other side of the ball. But the players that he was going out and getting, the priorities he was making in the transfer portal, on the recruiting trail, were not to go get the best defenders. And you've seen that philosophy change. You've seen that philosophy altered greatly, whether that's through just the portal or through recruiting. But here's the thing also, too. Lane Kiffin is going to be a very expensive head coach because most of his work is done through the portal. Most of the hauls that he pulls in of talent is via the portal. And so a guy like Frank Wilson, where most of the work he does and where most of the work he shines is in the living room, recruiting guys out of high school and stuff. I mean, that's just not what Kiffin is about. He's a different animal. A way more expensive one. So, I mean, I think we really need to be honest with ourselves. This is going to result in a higher ticket prices for LSU for the games. This is going to result in a lot more money being asked from the fans, being tacked on for everything from the fans, from concessions to tickets to merch. And I guess the question is the trade-off worth it if we have Kiffin and if we can have a chance to go get a championship? And I think obviously the answer is to go out and win championships always, no matter at what, almost any cost, like outside of hurting people, outside of doing anything illegal, you do it. to win championships, right? To dominate, to be successful. Outside of hurting, lying, committing illegal acts to other people, pursue everything in the name of winning, right? But LSU have kind of been forced into this situation in a way where, not forced, but like, you had to identify that Kiffin was your guy quick. You had to make the move on Kiffin quick. You had to compete against Florida and Ole Miss quick. LSU kind of been thrown in this situation quickly, and guess what? This is LSU's only target right now. Sure, there's a plan B. Sure, there's a plan C. Do you really think they're that firm with those plans? And Governor Landry has been heavily involved in every step of the way with Lane Kiffin here. Heavily involved. On the phone with Kiffin at one point. I mean, this is a situation that could blow up in LSU's face in a way that is spectacularly disastrous. Where, you could have gotten Lincoln Riley, who would have been really bad at LSU, but instead you get Brian Kelly, who a very expensive disaster. And now you can either get Lane Kiffin, and he could be all these great things. He could deliver a dynasty to LSU, or he could flame out and leave after 2 years in a buyout and goes to the NFL, trolling LSU the whole way. Do you really believe that Josh Pate knows where Kiffin is going? I think he's obviously trolling people. It's just I don't even think Lane Kiffin knows where he's going at this point, because that's kind of along the lines of what I've been hearing. Is like, people are like, bro, Lon, I love playing for Kiffin. I love coaching alongside Kiffin. I love working with him. Whatever the person is doing. But they've always said the caveat is, bro, I thought you were weird. Man, is Kiffin weird. Like, I thought you were weird, Lon. Kiffin is like 10 times weirder than you, bro. And it shocked me. And that's why we're in this spot that we're in, where no one can read Kiffin or where he's going, because he has super agent Jimmy Sexton, who's going to turn each side, peel each layer of the onion until he gets as much money as he possibly can. Not just for his client, like he's this man, riding in on a horse, white knight, but also for his own kitty. But I am hearing that Lane Kiffin was close to signing a memorandum of understanding with LSU. Very close to signing that. And then Sexton said, "Well, thank you. We'll look this over." Jimmy Sexton is playing games here, but I think in the end, knowing Jimmy Sexton, will be like, man, LSU is the best place for you to go. Florida, you get more money, all this. Do you really want to suck in the wilderness in Florida? Oh my God, I really do believe if Kiffin goes to Florida, it will be the worst decision he will make in his career. Now, when it comes to LSU and Lane Kiffin, I just want LSU to make the right move here. And my confidence about that is waning, because there's been a lot of times we've had trust in certain things that from the outside, you felt like, damn, this is kind of thrown together slapdash, timing-wise, preparation-wise. This doesn't feel like it's going to go in the right direction. Oh, shut up. Everything will be fine. This guy, then this guy, have been doing this forever, blah, blah, blah. And then in the end, you find out, oh, this is why LSU couldn't close the deal on this or this guy, because they didn't have their shit together, and who they were going after could see it from a mile away. And you got Verge Osbury, who's immediately been given this job and is now immediately tasked with go try and get Saban out of retirement. Go try and get Lane Kiffin. I mean, that's a lot. That is a lot. And I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm not saying he can't do it. But my God, there's opportunity for a lot of games to be played and LSU to be caught in the hive here. I've heard it all too. Yes, it's done, bro. It's done. Kiffin's done. He's been signed. He's done. We talked to people who would be able to they'd be overjoyed to let us break that news. They'd be calling it, hey, Lon, oh my gosh, break the news. Hurry, break it. That has not happened yet. Kiffin has not signed anything with LSU or Florida just yet. And so with how this is set up, I don't think you should count out anybody. As delusional as Florida fans sound right now, I don't think you should count out anybody until this is done. Until this is 150% done, it is signed. You know, the whole city is burning to the ground. They're all, get Kiffin, get him. Oxford is just, Mincy is literally covered in a man's blood. Like, give me Saban's skull. Like, you know, until that is going on, nothing's signed yet. Guys, we have some interesting information coming across our wire as we are live here tonight with you. We have been on the cutting edge of some of this reporting. You can call us whatever you want, but you know this is true. LSU Odyssey said however many weeks ago that Caleb Jackson would be transferring from LSU, the running back, who, you know, broke out as a freshman, Caleb Jackson, and then never quite recovered his momentum after some really ill-advised weight gains by our strength and conditioning crew. Sorry about that. But we reported back then that his father had told us that he will never play for LSU again. And he was going to be hitting the portal and leaving. He's never going to play for another snap. And he's going to hit the portal and go play somewhere else. I was put through the ringer and destroyed, just like we were after reporting that LSU's quarterback was injured, which we were vindicated of. But we did the same thing happened when we reported that he's not going to play another snap after he played just one snap against Ole Miss. He actually had a 10-yard run. He wasn't going to be able to touch the football ever again. LSU is going to keep his red shirt for that season and go somewhere else. Take it to take his talent somewhere else. That was all disputed. His mom came out against us publicly, said it was a lie. People thought it was so humiliating for us. How could you? You got this thing wrong, and then his parent went after you. How you're such a bad reporter. Okay, well, Caleb Jackson has not played a snap since then. And now I'm hearing that he is entered the transfer portal. So do people want to apologize for that, or people want to Just keep shitting on us. Either way, at some point you got to admit that, like, man, that's pretty good reporting. When you're talking about other people not even having a clue about that story, but we did. So, I think it's kind of funny to get the last laugh on stories like that. But yeah, Caleb Jackson is transferring from LSU. And that's a dude who, man, you really screwed that situation up. We really screwed that situation up. I mean, you had a dude who was a breakout freshman, trucking people on Sports Center, looking like the next great LSU running back. And then he's not even on the scene the next season. He's nowhere even a part of the fabric of LSU at all. Just a year later, I mean, it's just incredible. So many disappointing moments and talented guys that LSU had on roster that we just could not get anything out of. Whether that was due to the coaching or to the player. Chris Hilton Jr., another. Man. Chris Hilton Jr., what a weird, wild story. Because what I have heard is not what a lot of people think about Chris Hilton Jr. I have heard from some pretty damn good sources that I would still like to verify 100%, all that type of stuff, but as close to take it to the bank as could be, in my opinion. And they told me that Chris Hilton Jr. has been heavily relegated, not out of his own, lack of desire, lack of playing well, but by some really stupid political moves by Brian Kelly. We might be able to get an exclusive interview with these people for them to be able to come on our show and tell the story of what was going on, and maybe we can find out more about that. I don't want to reveal more that could kind of annoy that person and make them not want to come on the show and talk about that. So we'll try and encourage them, and hopefully they'll come on the show and discuss what happened with Brian Kelly and Cortez Hankton, and why some of these decisions were made about some of these players. Because there's some players at LSU that we've got to retain that just weren't given an honest shot with this team this year. I don't know. It's hard to even talk about the Kiffin stuff anymore because it's just getting to such a crazy place where it's like, hey, he's just got to decide now. And like, yeah, maybe Ross Dellinger or Chris Lowe will get spoon-fed the breaking news. But as far as being a detective and digging on this story and finding out the truth, I think we've already kind of hit that with what we were able to prove this last week. All of the interest with LSU was true, that this stuff was on the move, that there was real interest, that there was these offers, all this stuff. But at the same time, that stuff is going on in Florida. So the differences between Florida and LSU is that Knox, Kiffin's son, liked U-High a lot more than the Florida schools he was shown, the Gainesville schools he was shown. There's a lot of confidence about LSU getting Kiffin. A lot of confidence. And you saw it. A shirtless student section chanting, "We want Kiffin. We want Kiffin." The whole fourth quarter of the game. I mean, guys, that was one of the wildest telecasts of a game that you'll ever watch on TV. I mean, you had commentators actively making fun of LSU staff, calling them a zombie staff. Just saying the craziest stuff. We would show highlights, but I don't think there's any to show. Like it was unreal. It was unreal. And you saw kind of the same thing from Florida, just a horrific performance from them too. LSU is nowhere near the rebuild that Florida is. Nowhere near. Nowhere near the dumpster fire that Florida is. LSU is only a dumpster fire because of Brian Kelly and his laziness and his bad hiring and his kind of psychological stain upon proceedings. Saying he was great at offensive line, and then it's like, no wonder our offensive line was shit. Because lazy assholes like you were the ones running the offensive line. We're going to be really, really good. We're going to be dominant. No, we got our shit kicked in. And people like you don't even know the difference. Oh, Messi with a brilliant assist right there. Oh, my God, guys. Messi's going to be so ready for this World Cup coming up. Actually, we have a very good chance to get tickets. Hopefully, I can get some type of income, some type of financial job before this happens. But Messi is coming April 22nd to play against Real Salt Lake here in Salt Lake. I'm going to have my first chance to ever see Messi in public. This is going to be unreal. And I am absolutely salivating at the chance because there's nothing like watching Lionel Messi, man. Definitely a lot better than watching LSU last night because, guys, that was so freaking bad and ugly that it was hard to fathom that this is how far down LSU has gone offensively. It was just, it was diabolical to watch. Saturday night seemed more of like a kind of, that was like having your tooth removed. That was like getting anally seized by an alien race. Like this was a watch that was so traumatic. It literally resembled being drowned in a porta potty at Woodstock 99. This was not, a night watching your LSU Tigers having a good time. This was literally like being drowned in an overfilling porta potty at Woodstock 99. Literally. And, oh, man. If you were an LSU fan and you watched that clear to the end, huge salute to you, man. Huge salute to you. And we're one of those because we're fans, of course, but we're media people. We have to do this. But, man, it was difficult to watch. Difficult to watch. I mean, it really is a chore to watch some of these games this season. And that's not how it should feel when we wait all year to get to this point. We wait all year to get to this point where games are happening, and that's kind of the thing you feel is, damn, this is a chore to watch. Like that's not right. That is not right. And that's something that a Lane Kiffin hire would definitely fix. Everybody, have a good rest of your night. Check out the article there in the description. And we also got an exclusive interview with David Weeks, the father of Whit West and Zach Weeks, on our website as well. He gave us some quotes about what him and his wife Erin felt watching all three boys playing together at the same time in Tiger Stadium. Something that should have happened multiple times this season, but you're such a poor football team. You had to have your starters in at all times. I mean, so many gimme games where this was this should have been possible like 5 different times this season. But I'm glad it happened, and the boys were all able to play together alongside each other. And you had Zach Weeks getting a quarterback hit on a 3rd down. You had West Weeks having an incredible night, a sack on his final snap in Tiger Stadium, gets a sack. And he's got 7.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks on the season. He also had a pass breakup where he almost picked the football off, but his pick set up the DJ Pickett interception. So you had some incredible moments from these guys. You just hope to see Witt back for next season, Zach back for next season. West had an incredible LSU ending to his career, and let's hope he continues that over the next 2 games and really, keeps adding to what he's done to boost his draft stock, because there wasn't much draft stock to speak of before the season with West Weeks. That's just being deadly honest. After this season, man, that discussion might be very different because he's put up a lot of great film. Paul Tarver says Caleb Jackson, another wasted offensive talent and weapon. So sad. Micah Bryan says, I'm exhausted, Lon. Just ready for some better days. Don't you worry, my friend. They're coming. Don't you worry, brother. Things will get better for LSU. A new horizon will come. You just hope LSU's brass at the top make the right decisions here. And you just hope that the football people are making those decisions and no one else. Football people and no one else. This is LSUODYSSEY.com, LSU Odyssey Live, everybody. LSU Odyssey Live is in the house. Fill up that comment section while we eat some toast. 1 second. We'll be right back. Sorry, guys. I hope tonight you felt like I was on my A game. I don't feel like I was on my A game tonight doing this show. We pushed through it, trying to get better and better, and trying to, like, hopefully give you guys the best possible show we can. I don't know if I did that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed hanging out in the comment section and laughing it up with us, because that's all you can do sometimes with these type of games. But yeah, guys, I hopefully I feel like I was kind of off my game. Hopefully I wasn't. Hopefully I'm just being too self-critical, but I felt a little off my game tonight. So I feel bad, and I apologize for that. We do not want that to be the case. We don't ever want to feel like we are cheating people out of, you guys could be doing anything else. Instead, you're here with us. You want to talk LSU football. You want to talk what this team is doing. And I respect you guys. I want to honor that commitment you guys have made to us by going full on for you and delivering the best we possibly can. And tonight, maybe I came up short, and I apologize for that. We will not let that happen as much as we can possibly prevent it. Everybody, have a good rest of your night. It was a bruising, diabolical win of 13-10 for this LSU team, but a win is a win is a win. You could not lose to Western Kentucky. You could not have that embarrassment. Thank God it didn't happen. And now we have another week of madness and Lane Kiffin insanity. Kiffin. Kiffin. A Kiffin. Kiffin? Yeah, Kiffin. Kiffin. You Kiffin? Kiffin. You Kiffin? Oi, Kiffin. Oi, Kiffin. Like, you got so many. Kiffin. Lane Kiffin. Like, oh, now we're going to get in trouble by YouTube for angering an Asian community. Sorry, guys. Not trying to alienate anyone. Thank you guys so much for checking it out. Even if we're off our game, we still have a lot of fun doing this show. We will try and try and raise our game better and better and better as much as we can, and hopefully get to that goal where we can do this full time. Because if you guys enjoy what we do, if you guys have any sense of feeling that you guys want to see us continue doing this, support us as much as you can in this time, because right now, I just got to be honest with you, things are looking a little tough, and there's a lot of big changes coming, and I want to do this with all my heart and soul, and you will feel that hopefully every day with what I do. But it is hard to be able to do that when you're being torn in different directions. You're having to go work at this job, you're doing this and you're doing that just because you need to survive. So if you believe in what we're doing, and if you believe that, hey, this guy should be doing this full time, help us get to that point. Subscribe, LSUODYSSEY.com/subscribe. Follow us on X, on Twitter, @Lon Phillips, Instagram, @LSUOdysseyLon. A like or a share is a big deal and goes a long way. A retweet, a nice public comment of something that you already feel, whether that's you didn't like it or you liked it or you thought we came up short or you have a disagreement with us or you are in line with what we think, whatever. That all is a big deal and helps support what we do. Everybody, thank you so much. We do this for the best fan base in the country, bar none, the LSU fan base. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for hanging out with LSUOdyssey.com and for making it a great Sunday night. Go Tigers. Always, always, always go Tigers. even in the bleakest of times, even on the hardest of nights, always, always, always go Tigers, baby. This has been Lon Phillips Sullivan, your host. Take it easy, y'all. Have a good night.